They're not who you think they are. They never were. You think you see people for who they are, but what you're really seeing is the film playing behind your own eyes. Every love story, every betrayal, every face that shook you to your core, you didn't just meet them. You made them. You sculpted them out of memory, pain, and longing, shaped them into who you needed them to be, not who they truly were. And that's the secret no one wants to face. Most of what we call connection is projection. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the hidden, repressed side of the psyche, the parts of you you'd rather not see, the impulses you deny, the feelings you bury so deep they start reaching for someone else to wear them. So you meet a stranger, and something inside you sparks. You say, "They feel familiar." You don't realize that what feels familiar is your own reflection, the echo of your unhealed self. You call them perfect. You call them toxic. You call them the one, or the reason I'll never trust again. But what you're really saying is, I've met my mirror, and I can't stand what it's showing me. You see, we don't see people as they are. We see them as we are. Through the fog of our stories, the residue of our wounds, the lens of every moment we swore we'd never feel again. You think you're falling in love? Maybe. Or maybe you're falling into recognition, meeting the part of yourself that you once lost. You think you're angry at them? Maybe. Or maybe you're angry at the reflection of who you could be, if only you stopped hiding behind your projections. We mistake the mirror for the world. We think other people are the problem. But they're just playing the roles our unconscious scripts wrote for them. You call someone cold, but maybe they're showing you the warmth you've withheld from yourself. You call someone arrogant, but maybe they're living the confidence you've never allowed to breathe. You call someone broken, but maybe you recognize your own cracks in their silence. We're mirrors walking through mirrors, each of us carrying our unspoken truths like ghosts in daylight. And until you learn to face the one staring back at you, until you turn around and see the author of all those reflections, you'll keep meeting the same faces over and over in different bodies, different names, different seasons. Same lesson, different disguise. So when Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves," he wasn't being poetic. He was being surgical, because the world will keep cutting you open until you stop confusing the knife for the hand that holds it. They're not who you think they are. They're the mirror you've been avoiding. And every moment you look away is another chance lost to finally see yourself, fully, honestly, because truth lives in the reflection you fear the most, and it's been waiting for you to look back. You say they hurt you. You say they lied. You say they changed. But what if that's not the full story? What if the real betrayal wasn't what they did to you, but what you refused to see in yourself? We live inside lies we don't even know we're telling. Lies about who we are. Lies about what we deserve. Lies about what love should look like, how pain should feel, how others should act to make us whole. We build these lies like walls, stone by stone, story by story. And then we call the prison home. You've been taught that people define you, that if someone sees your worth, you have it. If they leave, you lose it. So you chase reflection instead of truth. You beg mirrors to show you that you exist. That's the sickness of projection. You hand your soul to another person and say, "Hold this. Prove that I'm enough." But nobody can carry that for you. They drop it, not because they're cruel, but because it was never theirs to hold. You blame them for letting go, but they were just releasing the weight of your illusion. Jung said that when the shadow is denied, it doesn't vanish. It controls you from the dark. It picks your lovers. It writes your fears. It paints halos on strangers and horns on anyone who threatens your fantasy. You tell yourself stories to survive. I'm the good one. They're the problem. I just attract the wrong people. But what if the wrong people are exactly the teachers you've been asking for? What if the universe keeps sending you mirrors until you finally stop running from your own reflection? The truth is, the people who wound you aren't villains in your story. They're instruments. They're mirrors turned into messengers. They poke the bruise you've been pretending has healed. They whisper, "Look here. Feel this. This is the pain you've been numbing with blame." And you call that pain unfair, but it's the most honest thing you'll ever feel. Because underneath all the anger, beneath all the judgment, is a kind of grief. The grief of realizing that every disappointment is a mirror showing you the depth of your own denial. That's what Jung meant by the shadow. It's not evil, it's exiled truth. And when you exile truth, it finds a way to come home, through the people you can't forgive, through the emotions you can't escape. You think you hate them, but maybe you hate what they've revealed. You hate that they saw through your mask. You hate that they touched something real in you, something raw, unguarded, human. The lie you live in is comfort. It's projection. It's the belief that if you change the mirror, the reflection will stop hurting. But no mirror can save you from the image you refuse to face. You can leave cities, you can block numbers, you can reinvent yourself 1,000 times. But until you face the truth of who you are, not who you pretend to be, the same wounds will follow you, like shadows at noon. This is why awareness hurts so much, because awareness strips away the story. And when the story burns, all that's left is you, bare, trembling, and real. And that's where freedom begins. Not in denying your pain, but in meeting it with open eyes and saying, "Yes, I see you. You're mine." Because the moment you stop lying to yourself, the moment you stop pretending that everyone else is the problem, you stop being a victim of your own projection. You start becoming the author of your becoming. And that is the beginning of truth. You think your fight is out there. You think it's against them. The liar, the betrayer, the one who didn't choose you. But listen, the real war isn't happening outside of you. It's happening in the silence between your thoughts. It's happening every time you point outward instead of inward. Every time you say, "They did this to me," instead of asking, "What part of me let it happen?" That's the truth most people can't bear, because it means you're not just the wounded one. You're the wound and the healer. You're the storm and the calm that follows. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That's not poetry. That's the map of your suffering. You call it bad luck. You call it heartbreak. You call it betrayal. But what if it's just your unconscious on repeat? What if every person who's ever hurt you was just playing out the script you refuse to rewrite? We are creatures of patterns. We don't fall in love. We reenact. We don't choose people. We choose familiarity. We walk straight into the same fire, hoping this time it'll feel like warmth instead of pain. You think it's about them, but it's not. It's about the wound inside you that still believes pain is love. That still believes being unseen is normal. That still believes you have to earn what was always supposed to be yours. This is the battle within, between who you were trained to be and who you actually are, between your shadow and your soul, between the story that keeps you small and the truth that could set you free. And let me tell you something. Freedom doesn't come dressed in peace. It comes in chaos, in collapse, in the death of everything false. You'll know you're waking up when the people you used to chase start to bore you, when drama feels heavy, when silence stops being unbearable, when you can sit with your own darkness and not run from it, because that's when you start integrating your shadow. That's when you stop saying, "They're the problem," and start whispering, "It's me. It's always been me." And that's not self-blame. That's self-realization. That's the point where your pain stops being punishment and becomes purpose. See, every emotion you've suppressed, the rage, the jealousy, the grief, the shame, they're not enemies. They're orphans, waiting for you to bring them home. That's the work Jung demanded of the soul. To walk into the darkness, not to destroy it, but to retrieve yourself from it. You can't transcend what you refuse to face. You can't be whole while you're still at war with your own reflection. So yes, face the anger. Touch the fear. Feel the ache of every story you've avoided. Because the only way out is through. And when you go through it, you'll realize something almost unbearable. The people you blamed were never your enemies. They were your guides, your mirrors, your invitations back to yourself. This is the great paradox of healing. You fight the world for years, and then one day you wake up and realize the enemy never existed. It was you. It was always you. And now, it's your time to make peace. Because the war ends the moment you stop fighting your own reflection. Awareness is not gentle. It doesn't arrive like a sunrise, soft, golden, kind. It crashes through you like a storm. It tears down walls you swore were load-bearing. It shows you the truth you prayed would stay hidden. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you catch yourself projecting, once you recognize your own fingerprints on the things you swore others did to you, the illusion burns. And it burns hot. You start to see the patterns, the repetitions. The faces may change, but the energy stays the same. You realize you've been dancing in circles, calling it fate, calling it love, calling it growth. But really, it was avoidance wearing a disguise. You see how you've been creating your own pain, not because you're broken, but because you've been asleep. You thought you were a victim of chaos, but you were actually the architect. You were designing the lessons your soul needed to evolve. Unconsciously, repetitively, until awareness set them on fire. And when that fire comes, it doesn't feel like freedom at first. It feels like loss, because the lies begin to fall away. The illusions you built to keep yourself safe start to crumble. You realize the person you loved wasn't who you loved. You loved the reflection of your own longing in their eyes. You realize the one you hated wasn't who you hated. You hated the part of yourself they mirrored back at you. And you begin to see the world not as a stage full of enemies and heroes, but as a hall of mirrors, each person reflecting something unhealed, something hidden, something holy. Awareness burns because it strips you bare. You lose your excuses. You lose your blame. You lose the luxury of denial. But in that loss, you find something unbreakable. You find presence. You find choice. You find the terrifying, liberating truth that you are responsible for the life you build, for the meaning you give to your pain. You stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That's the pivot. That's the revolution of the soul. Because awareness doesn't just change what you see, it changes who you are when you look. You stop needing to fix people. You stop needing to chase validation. You stop needing to win at stories that no longer fit your growth. The fire purifies. It burns away the false self, the one who blamed, the one who begged, the one who hid. It leaves only what's real. And that's when something ancient wakes up inside you. The part of you that remembers, I am not my projections. I am not my pain. I am not the shadow that used to control me. I am the one who sees, the one who integrates, the one who transcends. And though the fire hurts, you realize it's sacred, because it's not here to destroy you, it's here to cleanse you, to melt away the illusions that kept you small and forge you into someone the pain can no longer own. This is awareness. It's not peace, not at first. It's not comfort. It's truth, raw and radiant. It's seeing everything, the beautiful, the broken, the brutal, and saying, I choose to stay conscious anyway. Because the light you seek isn't somewhere out there. It's what remains after everything false has burned to ash. You've burned. You've seen through the illusion. You've watched the false faces fall away. And what's left is you. Not the version you show the world, not the one who smiles through betrayal or explains away pain. Number. What's left is the raw, trembling self beneath it all, the one that's been waiting for your honesty. This is the moment of reclamation, the moment you stop waiting to be seen and start seeing yourself, the moment you stop asking, why did they do this to me? And start whispering, what did I give away that allowed them to? You begin to realize you've spent a lifetime handing out pieces of yourself to people who never earned the privilege of holding them. You've let others define your worth, shape your identity, decide your reflection, and every time they walked away, you thought you lost something. But you didn't lose anything real. You only lost the illusion of who you thought you were through their eyes. That's the reclamation, the recognition that you were never incomplete. You were only projecting your wholeness outward. Jung wrote that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But becoming yourself is not a soft journey. It's violent in its honesty. It requires tearing away every identity that was built for survival until you meet the self that was born for truth. So when they disappoint you, when they betray you, when they leave, pause. Don't collapse. Don't run. Don't spiral into blame. Look at the wound they left and ask, what part of me trusted them with my light? What part of me forgot it was mine to keep? You start to see. They weren't here to destroy you. They were here to reveal you. Every heartbreak, every rejection, every silence was a mirror pointing you back to your center. And yes, it hurts. It hurts because you were never taught to love yourself without conditions. You were taught to earn love, to chase it, to mirror it through someone else's gaze. But now, the illusion is gone. Now, you stand in the rubble of what you once called connection, and you realize that everything that fell apart was never meant to stay. It was meant to show you where you gave your power away. So you start taking it back, slowly, deliberately, with every no that used to feel like guilt, with every boundary that used to feel like rejection, with every truth that trembles in your throat but refuses to die there. This is what power looks like, not control, not dominance, but self-ownership, the quiet knowing, I am mine. You stop chasing reflections. You stop begging mirrors to see you. You start living from the source, from within. And as you do, the world begins to shift. the faces around you change shape. You no longer see saviors or enemies, only mirrors and lessons. And with that awareness, the projections dissolve. The stories lose their grip. You stop living in reaction and start living in creation. Because reclamation isn't about getting back what was lost. It's about realizing it was never lost at all. It was simply waiting for you to remember. You are not the roles they cast you in. You are not the version of yourself that begged for belonging. You are the one who saw through the illusion and came home to truth. And that truth is powerful. That truth is peace. That truth cannot be taken. Because once you reclaim yourself, once you stop projecting your worth onto the world, no one can use it against you again. You become sovereign, grounded, untouchable. Not because you've hardened, but because you've integrated. You no longer need them to validate your light. You've found it burning in your own chest. You've met the shadow, and it bowed before your awareness. You've walked through fire, and it could not consume you. You are not broken. You are becoming. And in your becoming, you are free. You've walked through the fire. You've watched your illusions crumble into ash. You've faced the shadow, and you didn't turn away. Now, what remains is the part of you that cannot be broken. The part that survived every fall, every silence, every mirror that lied to you. This is the rise. And listen, it doesn't happen with trumpets or applause. It happens quietly, in moments the world won't see. In the stillness after chaos, when you finally whisper to yourself, I am done running. That's power. Not the kind that conquers others, the kind that conquers self. You are not the same person who entered the fire. That version of you died in the flames of awareness. And what rose from the ashes is something raw, something radiant, something real. This is the rise, not of who you pretend to be, but of who you truly are. You stop apologizing for your intensity. You stop dimming your brilliance for comfort. You stop trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop needing validation because you've built something stronger. Self-respect. The voices that once haunted you grow quiet. The projections lose their pull. You no longer flinch when someone leaves. You no longer shatter when someone rejects you. Because you know now, they can only take what you hand them. And you've stopped handing over your power. You've learned that boundaries aren't walls, they're declarations. You've learned that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's freedom. You've learned that pain wasn't your punishment, it was your teacher. And every scar, every heartbreak, every sleepless night, they've all become proof of your becoming. You wear them now, not as shame, but as armor made of truth. Because once you rise, you can never go back. You can never again unknow your strength, never again play small for love, never again beg mirrors to show you who you are. You've seen it. You've lived it. You are it. This is what it means to rise. To walk forward carrying your pain, not as a burden, but as a crown. To meet your reflection with compassion instead of judgment. To understand that no one is your enemy, and no one is your savior. You are the dreamer and the dream, the shadow and the light, the wound and the healer. You have reclaimed your power, and now you stand unshaken. You don't need the world to recognize you. You recognize yourself. And that recognition, that deep, unwavering self-knowing, is the beginning of peace. Because when you rise, you don't escape the darkness. You carry its wisdom into the light. You become the balance, the bridge, the whole, This is what all the pain was for. This is what every loss prepared you to see. You've risen not despite your wounds, but because of them. And now, you are unbreakable.